Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast and happy March. For those of you who have endured a difficult winter, it's that time that you can start to have some hope that the winter will pass by, the snow will melt, the temperatures will rise, and you too will be back out on the golf course. We'll change the clocks next weekend, and spring's right around the corner. So while, again, can play year-round here in South Florida, I know those of you who can't are excited to get the opportunity to get back out onto the course, and I'm excited for you. In today's episode, got a few things I'd like to talk about. One was a fun article I read about rare feats accomplished by golfers. Then we'll go through a golf tech update, talk about my rounds of golf over the past week, update on the question that I asked last week, which was, can an Excel spreadsheet help you improve your golf game? And then talk a little bit about what's going on in this upcoming week and what to look forward to in the next episode. So as I mentioned, let's start. I read this article, thought it was fun, some good information. It's written by Roderick Eastdale, and I will put a link to the article in the show notes if you'd like to read it for yourself. But the title of the article is, What are the rarest golfing feats that are actually achievable for amateurs? And the story reads, we look at the odds of some unlikely achievements, and the good news is that golfing glory may become easier as you get older. Now, personally, I haven't seen that yet, but caught my eye, and here's what Roderick had to say. Is there anybody who's quite as naively optimistic and hopeful as a golfer? We all turn up to play with the thought that today could be our day. We take on ridiculous shots when the chances of executing them successfully are low because we genuinely believe we can achieve it, whatever cold logic might say. Even high handicappers dream of a moment or a day when everything goes right for them. Maybe just that one shot, which even Tiger Woods in his pomp would have been proud of executing. After all, some golfing feats don't require sustained excellence. They just require a rare moment of brilliance. Hole in one. Just one stroke of brilliance is required here. Allied, perhaps, a bit of luck. A friend of mine took his daughter golfing. She had never played golf before. They played 9 holes together, and she got a hole-in-one on one of them. To the best of my knowledge, she has never played golf again, whereas some people who have golfed regularly for decades have never had a hole-in-one. Colin Montgomery won 31 times on the European Tour and secured 8 Order of Merit titles, yet reportedly never recorded a hole-in-one in professional tournament play throughout his career. Nor has Brooks Koepka, winner of 5 majors. Yet Andrew McGee made 1 on the 332-yard 17th hole at TPC Scottsdale in the 2001 Phoenix Open. This shot certainly needed some luck. The group ahead were still on the green, and his ball hit the putter of Tom Byram, who was crouching to line up his own putt, and ricocheted into the cup 8 feet away. Roughly 1 to 2% of golfers get an ace annually, and 60% of them are recorded by players aged 50 and older. Eagle. The hole-in-one is 2 achievements in one, not only the ace, but also an eagle. Now that is value for the money. An eagle on a par 4 takes a bit more skill in theory as it requires 2 shots. The par 4s can be as short as 240 yards, sometimes play even shorter, due to the specifics of the course design, such as dog legs or the setup of pin and tee placements. So as long as you can get a halfway decent drive off, then it's a question of holing the second shot, which on some of the shorter par 4s will be of a much shorter distance than most par 3 tee shots. With the longer par 4s, the hole is out of range with a second shot to all but the biggest hitters, but most par 5s tend to be in range for the majority of club golfers with 3 well-struck shots. In the pro game, a par 5 is looked upon as a prime birdie chance. Stats say that on a par 5, pros make eagle 1 in 23 times, whereas on a par 4, it's about 1 in 1,000. For the average golfer, the odds of an eagle are a reported 1 in 250 on a par 5 and 1 in 6,000 on a par 4. It has been calculated that just under an eighth of amateur golfers will make an eagle during their lifetime. Hitting every green. Okay, let's make it simpler. Rather than holding the approach shot for an eagle, what about just plonking it on the green each time? Par on each hole presumes 2 putts, so deduct from the par of a hole and you get the score you need to make a green in regulation. Well, perhaps we better forget this one. I have just asked my helpful AI assistant the odds of doing this throughout a round, and it has come back with the chances of a low single-figure handicapper doing so is 1 in 262,000. Mind you, these are good odds compared to those for 15 to 20 handicapper, which it says is 1 in 3.8 billion. Hitting every fairway. So far, we've been concentrating on feats which require some distance to the shot. But what about the shorter hitters, such as the senior golfer? The average tour pro finds the fairway only about 3 times in 5. In 2024, the most accurate player on the PGA Tour, Aaron Rai, averaged 73.26% of fairways hit. Presuming 60% accuracy off the tee, the chances of hitting 14 fairways in a round, that's presuming 4 par 3s on the layout, is 1 in 1,283. But tour pros hit the ball a heck of a long way. It's easier to be accurate when you hit it less far. So maybe hitting all the fairways in a round is the one to aim for here. The figure given for a high handicapper is 1 in 37 million rounds. But this presumes they only make the fairway on average 40% of the time. I reckon some high handicap senior golfers would exceed this 40% figure easily. Those who are short but steady players off the tee hit 3/4 of the fairways on average, and it's a 1 in 56 probability of doing so on all 14 fairways. Let's tweak the odds a tad in our favor and head to a course with 6 par 3s, the type Seve Ballesteros like to design. Then we have, for a golfer who finds the fairway just half of the time, a figure of once every 4,096 rounds mathematically, 60% of the time, and it's 1 in 460 rounds. But if you're playing such a course and you find the fairway on average 3/4 of the time during a season, not an unrealistic figure for a steady but short-hitting senior golfer, then the mathematics will tell you the odds become 1 in every 32 rounds. So that's the article. They said, I thought it was fun. I personally do not have an eagle. I do not have a hole-in-one. I have certainly not hit every green in regulation, and I have certainly not hit every fairway in regulation. But let me hear from you. Have you accomplished any of those things? Do you have a hole-in-one? You have a hole-in-one story you'd like to tell? I'd love to hear it and be happy to share it on the podcast. Send it to me. Shoot me an email at breaking80over50@gmail.com. Or maybe you made a crazy eagle. What's the closest you've ever gotten to hitting all of the fairways or all of the greens in regulation? Let me know. So I'll move from that article into my golf tech update. Last week, I talked about being out on the course with Reggie, having a really interesting session where I struggled to hit shots out of the bunker. And that carried over to chipping and pitching off of grass. So we're back inside this week, clearly knew what we needed to work on, and got back to work on pitching, and basically had the simulator set up to hit a 50-yard pitch shot that had to go over a bunker and onto a green. And I worked on my swing, worked on controlling distance. That's a really difficult piece of it. The distance piece and knowing how hard to swing the club to hit a 50-yard shot, I struggle with. And the first, I'd say 4, 5, 6 shots all came up short in the 30 to 35-yard range. And then Reggie said, all right, now we're going to put money on line. I'll bet you $10. You owe me $10 if you don't hit the next shot more than 50 yards. And I hit the next shot the same 35 yards. So technically I owed Reggie $10. And his question was, why? Why did you hit it less than, he said, all I told you was you had to hit it more than 50 yards. You could have hit it 150 yards and won the bet. Why won't you swing the club hard enough to hit the ball 50 yards? He makes an excellent point. It was simple enough, but simple and excellent point don't necessarily mean I can do it. I'm still looking at the green. I still have a target, still trying to land it by the flag. We went double or nothing on the next shot. I hit that one just slightly over. I think it was 51 or 52 yards. And I told him, I said, I felt like I hit that 100 yards. And this is one of the challenges. This is for an amateur, understanding those distances and being good from 70 yards, 60 yards, 50 yards, 30 yards is really challenging. I'm not sure, other than just a tremendous amount of practice. Reggie's theory is if you understand what 50 yards feels like and you understand what 30 yards feels like, you should be able to hit it 40 yards. I don't know if I agree with that, but I understand what he's saying. Next, he moved the target in so that same shot, I had to pitch it over a bunker, but the pin was now only about 30 yards away. And on the 30-yard shot, I was consistently landing the ball long. Wasn't going 50 yards, but was consistently right around 40 yards. We go back, same kind of bet. All right, $10. You owe me $10 if you don't hit this shot less than 30 yards. And what do? I pitch it up onto the green, 35 yards, and it's the same question. Why? You could have hit it 2 feet. You just can't hit it beyond the 30 yards. But even indoors, I'm staring at that bunker and I'm thinking, I can't come up short. I have to clear that bunker. And it's what leads me to hitting a longer shot. So good lesson. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know that it really helped me build any confidence. I understand what he's trying to get me to do. And indoors with the same club in my hand on a mat, pitching shots that don't really mean anything, I'm certainly better than when I'm outdoors. And that's something we'll get into more, is that indoor practice versus outdoor practice. But the other thing that we talked about was the mental side of the game. And Reggie really believed, and I agree with him, that I'm struggling with the mental side of the game. And that a big piece of my issue now is my golf swing has improved quite a bit through practice and lessons, but he understands my frustration that my scoring is not following suit. And it continues to happen around these blow up holes. And frequently they blow up because of my poor pitching and chipping, but not always. Sometimes it's off the driver that leaves me in a bad position. But what I did say is that, and I talked about this last week in my conversation about, can a spreadsheet make you a better golfer? That when I put the numbers together, I'm significantly better on the front 9 than I am on the back 9. And there's not really a reason for that. The back 9, based on stroke index, in theory, is an easier 9 holes than the front 9. He asked, do you think you're getting tired on the back? And I said, no. It used to be the other way around, that I would play the back better than the front. And I felt like that was because as I warmed up, loosened up, I hit the ball more freely. And that's why I played better on the back. So I said, it's not tired. It's just, I've had these rounds where I put up a really good number on the front, low 40s. And then on the back, I just blow up. And, we both had the feeling that it seems silly, but there's pressure building on the back. And I know that I'm off to a good start. I don't want to see it slip away. And the more I feel like that, the more pressure there is and the more it's affecting my golf game. So anyway, his suggestion was, he asked me, he said, have you seen the movie 7 Days in Utopia? And I told him that I had not. And I said, was it just a movie or was it a book? And he said, no, I think it was a book first that was made into a movie. So after the lesson, went online, found out that it was a book first before it was made into a movie. Went online and ordered the book. I like to read. I feel like I get more out of reading the book than the movie. While the movie's probably great, I can go back and read the same chapter over and over. I can highlight things that are important. So I bought the book. And at the time of this recording, I am, I'd say 85% of the way through it. I think it's been a good read so far. But next week, we will talk about the book 7 Days in Utopia. And I'll let you know if there's anything in there that I think will help improve my golf game. So let's talk about my golf game. How'd it go this week? Well, I got in 3 rounds of golf, one late Thursday afternoon, and then my normal Saturday and Sunday morning. So on Thursday afternoon, beautiful afternoon, I went out and I've said this before, the Quebec license plates just own the golf course at Oriole during the week, but was hooked up with a couple, very nice Canadian couple from Quebec, spoke some English, I'd say more French, but nice people. We went out, had a great afternoon, and my back nine blues continued. So on the front, and actually I got off to a little bit of a bumpy start. Double bogey on the first, bogey on the second, turned it around, parred the third hole, went bogey, bogey, bogey on 4, 5, and 6, but then caught fire on the last 3 holes, going par, birdie, par on 7, 8, and 9. So shot 41 on the front, and my playing partners were impressed with, especially how I played those last 3 holes. And in the little bit of English they had, said, you're on fire. and I know that, and I was feeling it, but it doesn't last forever. So 41 on the front, make the turn onto the back, and the par on the 9th hole, I didn't know it at the time, but was my last par for the day. So 41 on the front, went bogey, bogey, double bogey, 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 double, double, bogey, bogey for a 49 on the back and a 90 on the day. Again, beautiful day, nice people, but a frustrating round of golf. Another good start that I just couldn't keep together, fell apart in the back. And while the podcast is all about breaking 80, man, recently breaking 90 has been a struggle. And there's a little bit of a mental hurdle there right now that I'm feeling the heat, the pressure as the round wears on. And I shot a 41 on the front, and I'm thinking, there's no way that I don't put up a round in the 80s today. But there it is, 41, 49, and a round of 90. Back out on Saturday, regular group, myself, Jason, Al, and Steve was out with us on Saturday. And Saturday, I guess my challenges from Thursday carried over onto the front on Saturday. And I haven't really had a bad front nine in a while, but I did on Saturday. No pars on the front, shot 51 on the front, made the turn, actually parred the 10th hole, and then went double, triple, a bogey, and another triple. So really struggling through 14. But then I don't know, I found something and parred the last 4 holes of the day. So pars on 15, 16, 17, and 18. It didn't save the day. I shot 45 on the back for a 96 on Saturday. The good thing with Saturday is there's always Sunday. So frustrated or not, it's kind of my motto. Wasn't a great day, but we'll get back out there on Sunday and we'll see how it goes. And kind of same thing in reverse. While my bad golf carried over from Thursday till Saturday morning, my good ending to Saturday carried over into the start of my golf on Sunday and came out, parred the first 2 holes, bogey on the third, and a double on the fourth. And at that point, I was talking to myself a little bit and was saying, all right, because one of my challenges is when things start to go south, when I have a bad hole or 2 bad holes, it feels like the day just gets away from me and I can't break that string. So try to stay positive. Said, all right, it's a couple of bad holes, but that's okay. We're 3 over through 4. We're in this. Let's get it going again. And I did. I made pars on 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I go into the 9th hole and I'm 3 over through 8. So 3 over means that if I can par 9, I would shoot 39 on the front. That would be the first time that I have ever broken 40 on a 9-hole stretch, and would be an important step towards my goal of breaking 80, is knowing that I can go out and I can shoot a sub 40 in 9 holes. But again, I can tell you that I start to feel the pressure. Been driving the ball well all day, get to 9, and I hit what was not a great draw. I hit it well, but sliced it right. Right is a problem because it ends up in tree trouble. Got to my ball, disappointed with where it was, but said, it's okay. It's a par 5. It's 3 shots in anyway. I didn't have a clear shot to where I would have liked to have gotten on the fairway. So I had to punch it, leave it a little longer out than I would like to, which I did, but I overshot the fairway and ended up in the rough with not a good side hill lie. So my feet would be well above the ball. And I believe it was about 157 yards out. Get to the ball, stand over it. And for a moment I had pitching wedge in my hand and was thinking about just putting it back in the fairway and getting myself to a place where I had, call it 100 yards in, take my lumps. I'll take the wedge in, get it on the green in 4. Maybe I get it close enough that I can make a putt, make par, and walk away with a 5 like that. Then I changed my mind and I said, no, I've been hitting the ball well all day. I'm 157 yards out. I've got a little wind at my back. It's not a great lie, but I've got this shot. There's nothing between me and the green. I just got to have to deal with the lie and hit a good shot. So I pulled 7-iron, hit the ball well. This isn't surprising, but because the ball was well below my feet, I pushed it right and hit the green. So it was a green in regulation, but I was on the far right-hand side of the green and the pin was on the far left-hand side of the green. So I would say I was left with about 50 feet for par. And it's a tricky green. It's sloped. The ball can get away from you once it starts going downhill. So I was nervy over it. And I had been putting the ball pretty well all day and had hit some really good lag putts from distance to leave me in a place where I had an easy tap in for par. So you get over the putt and it is, you get all the way across the green. The first probably 20 feet are slightly uphill. And then it's going to crest. And then the rest of the putt is slightly downhill. And I just didn't hit it. It was a scared stroke. And I left it about 15 feet short. Just missed my par putt. and put up my first 3-putt of the day for a bogey on 9 and a 40 on the front. 40 is a really good number. Again, should walk away, should be happy. And I think I was still in pretty good spirits, but I knew it was a missed opportunity. I was disappointed with myself for the speed of that first putt. Thinking back on it, I should have been more aggressive, because even if I ran a little past the hole, I would have had an uphill putt coming back, which I would prefer, as opposed to a downhill putt, which again is touchy and can get away from you. So in hindsight, I felt like my strategy wasn't great there and was a little frustrated that I didn't get it close enough to make a putt and shoot a 39 on the front. I go to 10, and I think I talked about it in the last podcast. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about this hole. And I knew, and I'll talk about it a little later, I had the spreadsheet in mind. I knew the holes where I struggled the most. And 10 was one of those holes, one of my worst holes on the course. And I tend to hit the ball. I tend to drive the ball right. And right, again, it potentially, if you hit it far enough right, it's in the water. If it doesn't go in the water, it's quite a few trees that make the shot back in difficult. So I know all this. I know all this standing over the ball. And this is the first time all day that I hit a slice right, didn't go in the water, but left me in a spot where I had no shot into the green. I had to pitch back out into the fairway, which I did. And I hit really a pretty good shot to the left side of the fairway, leaving myself about 100 yards in. I, on the front 9, hit the wedges so well. I was dialed on that 100-yard number. So I was confident over that shot that I could hit a 100-yard shot into that green. But I didn't. I bladed the ball. It went 130 yards. It hit the green, went flying over it. And now I've got a really difficult pitch up a hill onto the green. The green runs away from me now that I'm behind the green. So it's higher, closest to me. I know it's going to run away. And I still had to hit. I went so far past, I had a 50-yard pitch shot back into the green. And I wanted to land it short of the hole because it was downhill. I knew it was going to run. I hit my pitch. I thought I really hit a decent shot until I walked back up the hill and found that I never got it to the green. It landed in the fringe. And just like what I did when I was indoors in Golf Tech, I hit my 50-yard pitch shot 30 yards and didn't make it to green. So it was 3 putts from there for a double bogey. Put up another double on 11. And again, now I'm talking to myself that, come on now, I've got to turn this around. I can't let this round, I can't let the 40 that I put up on the front get away from me on the back. And that's going into 12. 12th hole, again, I mentioned last week as I went through the spreadsheet, was one of only 2 holes that in the month of February, I did not make par on and was just hell-bent on turning it around on Sunday. Good drive. The other change I made on Sunday is the unhittable stayed in the bag. I took an iron out, had about 250 yards in. The goal was to leave myself 100 to 120 for my third shot, which I did perfectly. I left myself right about 120 yards and hit just a dart into the green that landed 4 feet from the pin and stuck. So get up to the green. I've got 4 feet for birdie and I missed the putt. Tap in par, which first time I've made par on that hole in 10 rounds. Good result, but another frustration that I missed a 4-footer to make a birdie there. Going to the 13th hole. This one's it's a short par 4. I hit driver well, solid contact, but this one was left. Left, puts you in the trees, But when I got to my ball, I had a clear shot to the green. Trees everywhere, but I was in a great spot, nothing between myself and the pin. Same thing here. It was another 100-yard shot that I needed to hit. I had to carry a bunker to get onto the green. And for the second time in the course of just a few holes, I bladed the wedge another 30 yards over the green. And I'm left in a similar predicament where I've got to pitch back up onto the green. My first pitch. So now I'm scarred because of what had been going on earlier in the day. So I didn't even get it to the green. My first pitch went, I needed to hit it 50 yards. I hit it 8. So I have to do it again, put it on the green, another 3-putt, and I put up a 7 on what is a really easy par 4. And from there, I don't want to waste everybody's time, but go bogey, 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 bogey. And then going into the 18th hole, and still, if I make par on the 18th, I can still shoot an 87 and break my little string of not getting through 9 day. A bogey is an 88, a double's an 89. It would just feel good to put up a round that starts with an 8. But no, that's not what I decided to do. Again, I hit driver well enough on Sunday to put up a number. I really drove the ball well, except for a couple of these holes, and 18 was one of them. Big slice, right, leaves you in tree trouble. I've got no shot into the green. So I've got to take my medicine, put one back out onto the fairway, which I overshot the fairway just a little, but it's fine where it is. I'm back at that 100-yard number, and I've got a little bit of the right side of a tree that I need to get over. Again, there's no problem with that. I'm far enough back. I'm hitting a wedge. It's not an issue. And again, it's unbelievable. I blade the wedge over the green. Let's make a long story short. I make triple on the 18th and shoot 50 on the back for a 90. So I hate to say another frustrating week of golf because there were some moments. If I go back to the end of my round on Saturday, so I finished Saturday with 4 pars in a row, open up Sunday with 2 in a row. So that's 6 pars in a row. If you take the front 9 where I shot 40 on Sunday and add it to the 4 final holes on Saturday, that's a 13-hole stretch where I made 10 pars, 2 bogeys, and 1 double. So that's 4 over par through 13 holes. That guy can break 80. Problem is, the other guy shows up on the back 9. On the back, 1 par, 4 bogeys, 2 doubles, and 2 triples. And this goes back to what I talked about a little earlier, is there's something mentally, there's a hurdle, there's something I've got to get over, because I wasn't perfect on the front. I hit some bad shots, but I hit good recovery shots. I made putts. That guy can do this. That guy can shoot rounds in the low 80s, and on the right day can put up a 79. But when it goes bad, I just can't turn it around. And I feel it. I feel the pressure. I know it's getting away from me, and I can't stop it. So I've got to figure that out. I've got to figure out how to stop that trend when it starts and make a phone call to the guy who was playing well on the front and bring him back out to hit some shots on the back. I wish I could tell you differently. I promise you, I'm going to keep at this. I'm going to keep working at it. And when I figure it out, when I find something that helps me overcome this flock, trust me, you will all hear about it, because if I can do it, you can do it. And I am going to figure it out. But let's talk a little bit about last week's episode and the spreadsheet that I put together where I broke the course down into segments and talk about how did that go over those 3 rounds of golf. From the 30,000 foot view, I played better golf. Over my first 8 rounds in February, I had averaged 45.5 on the front. The 3 rounds that I just talked about, I averaged 44, so that's a stroke and a half better. And I also improved, not as much, but had been averaging 48.13 on the back and dropped that down to 48 flat. But from a segment standpoint, I had talked about that the first 3 holes of the course were my best 3. It was my best 3-hole stretch at on average 1.63 strokes over par through those 3 holes. That got a little worse over the first 3 rounds and over the last 3 rounds. And I knew it might because that's a tough number for me to keep up with. But over the 3 rounds on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, I averaged 2.67 strokes over par on those first 3 holes. But then when you move on to the next 2 segments, so holes 4, 5, and 6, I had been averaging 4.25 strokes over par. I dropped that down to 2.67. And holes 7, 8, and 9, I had been averaging 3.63 strokes over par. I dropped that down to 2.67. So 2 out of the 3 segments on the front I improved on. Go to the back, holes 10, 11, and 12, which were my worst 3 holes on the course. That was my worst segment at 5 strokes over par through those 3 holes. I improved to 4.33 strokes over par through those 3 holes. 13, 14, and 15, I had been averaging 3.63 strokes over par through those 3 holes. Over this 3-round stretch, that has now become my worst segment. And that one I had gotten worse on, going from 3.63 to 4.67. And then on the final 3 holes of the course, 16, 17, and 18, first 8 rounds of February, I'd averaged 3.5 strokes over par on those 3 holes. I improved to 3 strokes, basically playing bogey golf, 3 strokes over par through those 3 holes on these 3 rounds. If I break that down hole by hole, it's an even split. I improved on 9 holes. I got worse on 9 holes. Clearly, I'm still better on the front than I am on the back. And I don't think it's that I'm tired or hurt. I feel a weight that I want to go out and I want to put up rounds in the 80s. And I have to put up rounds in the 80s, the low 80s, to get back to a place where knowing that, a couple of things break the right way for me and I could shoot around in the 70s. And as it gets away from me, the pressure's getting to me, I think, on the back. And that's why I continue to struggle. The positives. When really I look out at the whole month and I look at the front and I see a round of 9 holes of a 41, a 42, a 40, another 40, another 41. I'm getting it done on the front. Spreadsheet or not, the back is my challenge. I have got to find a way to play better golf on the back. And again, I really do think it's mental. I hate to say it. I hate to use those words. I hate to say that I choke on the back. But if you're listening to this, you're probably already thinking it. Like, this guy chokes on the back. So I don't know that this book is going to be the catalyst to change that, but I'm hoping it's a start in the right direction. And next week when we get back together, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 7 days in Utopia, what I learned, what I think I can take to the course, and how I think it may help me to get over whatever I'm going through and see things go back the right way. My handicap, which I've discussed before, was a low of 15.5 in January, is up to 17.9. That's a frustrating number to look at. And it's going to continue going that way because I have rounds in the 80s falling off every time I go post a new round in the 90s. I've got to find my way back into the 80s. And I'm going to do it. The golf game is there. The game that I played on Sunday on the front 9, again, that guy's capable of it. He is capable of shooting 39. So I know it's in me. I just have to find a way to bring it out for more than 9 holes every weekend. I'm not sure what exactly my plans going into this weekend are. My youngest son, who's 25 years old, I'll tell you a quick story. When we moved to Florida, and this goes back a little more than, well, it's about 20 years now. I'd wanted to get my sons involved in some sort of martial art. And my wife and I had visited a few different places, karate schools, taekwondo schools. And when we went into those schools and we'd ask questions about how long does it take to become a yellow belt, or how long does it take to become a black belt, we got answers like, well, there'll be an orange belt at the end of 1 year and there'll be a black belt at the end of 2 years. And I would ask questions and say, well, how about if they're really good at it? And I'd always get the same, there'll be an orange belt at the end of 1 year and a black belt at the end of 2 years. Well, how about if they're really bad at it? Same thing. And it just made me realize that most of these places were just belt factories. Yeah, they're teaching karate, but people want to see their kids get new belts. And I wanted to see my kids earn whatever they got. So at that time, I think one of the best MMA camps on the planet, American Top Team, was located close to home. And that was a whole different thing. They tell you straight that you may be a white belt forever. If the kids don't come in here, they don't practice, they don't pay attention, that they won't get promoted. If they do well, they will. So all my kids started. My youngest stuck with it. I think he started when he was 8. He's 25 now. He's been doing jiu-jitsu for 17 years. He's really good at it. He's competed in jiu-jitsu for a long time and has been very successful. And this coming weekend, and the way this went was, I think it was last week, he came home, he trains 7 days a week. He works all day. And then when he's done working, he goes and he trains. Came home, got a shower. My wife and I are watching TV. After a shower, he comes and he says, hey, I need to tell you guys something, and you're not going to like it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And I said, all right, I love a conversation that starts like that. Let's hear it. And he went on to say that he had accepted an MMA fight. And so again, I live on the east coast of Florida, he said, and it's in Tampa, which is on the west coast of Florida. And I was like, oh, you're killing me. Not only am I going to have to go and watch you fight in a cage, but I've got to drive to do it. It's not here close to home. I get it. I understand it. It's something that he's passionate about. I know he's capable of defending himself, but you never want to see your kids put in harm's way. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in his corner. I'm going to be there to support him. I tell you this because I believe it's going to take up most of my weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'm not sure what my golf weekend will look like. But this is more important. Honestly, I kind of think I could use a little break from the golf course, maybe reset. Depending on what time we get home, maybe I get out Sunday afternoon. I'll let you know. I'll let you know how the fight went and keep you updated on if I were able to get out to play and how that went. But primarily next week, I do want to talk about the mental golf game. And it's a big piece of this because the golf game is there. It is within me. I just can't find a way to keep it going well for 18 holes of golf. So I think that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you being here. Would love to hear from you. Like I said earlier, if you've made a hole-in-one, you've made an eagle, shoot me an email. Tell me the story, and I would love to share it with the rest of the audience. Questions, comments, let me know. Reach out. But again, thank you. I appreciate you being here. Have a great week. I'll be back next week, and I'll keep you posted on how things go. Thanks, everybody. If you made it this far, thank you. I can't tell you how much it means to me that you hung in there for the whole show. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like, subscribe, and maybe share this with a friend. It really helps to grow the community. And let me know you're out there. If you listen on Spotify, leave a comment or a question, or send me an email at breaking80over50@gmail.com. I promise I'll read every one. All music was provided by Epidemic Sound, and I'll leave links to any of the content that I mentioned during the podcast in the show notes. Keep swinging, keep smiling, and remember, it's a game. Get out there and have fun. Thanks, everybody.